Welcome to the December 18th, 2025 meeting of the Ann Arbor Renters Commission. The purpose of the Renters Commission is to advise the City Council and the City Administrator in matters affecting renters in the city. The Ann Arbor Renters Commission is made up of voting members who are appointed by the mayor and approved by City Council, two non-voting City Council liaisons, two non-voting members representing different landlord perspectives, and a non-voting representative to the University of Michigan Student Legal Services. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, you'll be able to speak through the webinar link or by phone, depending on your method of access to this meeting. To be called upon to speak, callers must press star 9 if listening by phone or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link a2gov.org/renters commission meeting. You will then be called upon by city staff one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number or by username if available for those accessing through the web link. You'll hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. Please state your name at the beginning of your comments. City staff will indicate when callers have 30 seconds left of their 3-minute comment period. After 3 minutes, they'll be placed on mute so that we can proceed to the next speaker. Moving on to roll call, Commissioner Else.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Commissioner Droppelman, I think he was absent tonight. Yes, he is absent tonight. Sorry. Commissioner Chen is absent. Councilmember Radina. I know he's here, so we see him.
Oh, sorry. Can you not hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Here in Ann Arbor. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison, I believe, is out sick tonight. Commissioner Pitts.
Here, Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Commissioner Liao.
Here in Albion, Michigan.
Thank you. And is it happy winter break for you? Okay. Commissioner Larsenes.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Pace.
Here in Ann Arbor.
I forgot myself, Commissioner Ratcliffe here in Ann Arbor, and our newest member, Commissioner Rasuli.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Thank you, and welcome to the Renters Commission. We're actually moving on to your welcome, which is basically we'll all introduce ourselves and say something brief about why we joined the Renters Commission. I'll start. I joined the Renters Commission, I think a little over a year and a half ago-ish. And I joined after moving back to Ann Arbor, having been a renter in several different cities, and then being a renter here. And I just wanted to make a difference in tenant protections here in the city. And it's kind of it. And Commissioner Rosen is here now as well. Commissioner Rosen, we just started going around and introducing ourselves to Sheila Rasuli, who's our newest commissioner.
Hi, Sheila. My name's Gail Rosen. I am an attorney at Student Legal Services. I handle housing issues. And I'm the U of M liaison. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Next, we'll do Commissioner Larsenes.
Yeah, I've lived in Ann Arbor for a total of 8 years now, 4 years as a student, and moved back 4 years ago, and I've been renting here. And I was motivated to join the Renters Commission after I had a bad experience with one of my rentals, so I wanted to try to improve it for all of us renters that live here. I'm originally from the Kalamazoo, Michigan area, and I rented over there as well.
Commissioner Body?
Hey, yeah, I've been on the commission since I think February was my first meeting, so almost a year. I've been in Ann Arbor since October 2019. Like Rosanita said, I've rented in a few different cities, different properties and everything. So I've always had an interest in renters' rights, but I think that kind of accelerated, especially after COVID, when just, pricing and everything else kind of went off the rails. So yeah, but I'm happy to be here and happy to have you.
Thank you. Commissioner Else?
Hi, Commissioner Rusuli. Welcome. I'm Jordan Else. I am one of the non-voting landlord members here in Ann Arbor, and just kind of after seeing how a lot of renters were treated during COVID, and a lot of that kind of moved me to want to get more involved on a higher policy level. So I have a background of renting. I worked as a nurse practitioner, but now I find myself in the property management. So it's good to meet you, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pitts?
Hi, Sheila. Welcome. My name is Kim, and I've lived here about 28 years. This is my second term, and I do represent the low income side. And I kind of got talked into it by some of the people around the community. And I'm glad I joined because I'm starting to learn more and more and able to kind of help people, kind of refer them to check out our site. But welcome.
Commissioner Liao?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I joined the Renters Commission about a year ago now, and I'm a student at the University of Michigan. I'm also a renter, and I'm here mostly to provide the student perspective since that's kind of a good portion of the people who are renting here. But it's really nice to meet you.
Commissioner Pace?
Hi, Sheila. I am Toya Pace. I have been in Ann Arbor since 1989. I work in the subsidized housing world, so I am here to represent renters and the underserved population.
Thank you. Councilmember Radina?
Hey everybody. Sorry, I'm gonna stay mostly off camera tonight because I am also a little under the weather and so I keep coughing. But I am Travis Radina, council member from Ward 3. I have been on the Renters Commission since it was formed. I got elected in 2020 and had campaigned on the need for renters to have more of a voice in Ann Arbor. And so spearheaded the creation of this commission, and really just wanted to make sure that renters had a formalized voice in our city government. I spent a lot of my time in Ann Arbor as a renter as soon as I moved back to Ann Arbor and when I was a student, and recognized that there were a number of areas where we needed to improve. So excited to have you on board, Sheila.
And as a Commissioners Chen, her first name's Dan, and Commissioner Droppelman, both of them are absent tonight, and so you'll get to meet them and get to know them better over time. And Councilmember Harrison is also sick tonight as well, and so you'll get to know her over time as well. And so now the spotlight's on you, Sheila.
Ah, exciting. It's great to meet all of you. Thank you so much for telling me a little bit about yourself. I am joining a little bit as a representative, both as a tenant, but also as a representative of the Ann Arbor Tenants Union, as an organizer with them. I also have a background working in eviction defense as a paralegal at a legal aid organization. And so
a little bit of a housing background. I've rented both as a student and as a non-student in Ann Arbor, and my family has been here for the last 11 years, but I've been here for a little bit less. So.
Thanks. And normally I'm pretty not, was it informal? And I normally go by first names instead of commissioner. Um, Sometimes I slip into commissioner when there's a guest speaker. So however you feel most comfortable being called, just let us know or let me know. We'll move on to roll call. I'm not sorry, roll call, the approval of the agenda right now. Is there anyone who will move uh, to accept the agenda?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Then are there any questions or comments? Then all those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please unmute and say nay. All right, then the agenda is passed and we'll move forward now to approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2025 Renters Commission. Can someone please make a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any changes that anyone noticed that need to be made? All right, then we'll go ahead and unmute for those who, sorry, please, for all those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please unmute and say no. All right, then the minutes have passed and are approved, and we'll move on to the first general comment. Kristen, who I also forgot to have introduce herself. I'm sorry.
Oh, not a problem. So briefly, nice to see you, Sheila. Definitely reach out to me as a resource for anything to do kind of with the Renters Commission's connection to the city, questions or resources or anything like that. You'll hear a lot from me ahead of meetings with meeting materials and calendar invites and things like that. So glad to have you on the Renters Commission. Okay, switching over to public comment. We do have an attendee. If you would like to address the Renters Commission about any topic for up to 3 minutes, you can go ahead and raise your hand. If you're joining from the web link, you can use the raise hand feature. If you've called in and you're listening over the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If we see a raised hand, we'll move you in and allow you to speak. And then you'll be able to make your comment, and then we'll move you back into attendee mode. So go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to address the Renters Commission. They have not indicated, so we can go ahead and close public comment.
Rosanita, you're on mute.
Thank you for telling me. I forgot that I did that. We are now going to move on to our unfinished business. We have 3 different items. The first item is the approval of the 2026 Renters Commission meeting calendar. That item has our meetings at the same time, which is same time and date, which is the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. And the only change that was made is not having a meeting in July, because that's when it seems like most people are on vacation or have something come up. So if, I'm sorry. Let's see. So if we can, I'd like for someone to please motion to approve the calendar.
I'll motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
All
Sorry.
right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments or concerns about the meeting times and dates? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move forward in a vote. All those in favor of accepting the 2026 Renters Commission calendar, please unmute and say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please unmute and say no. All right, then our 2026 Renters Commission calendar has been approved. Our meeting starting in January will be the third Thursday of every month at 5:30, except for the month of July, where we will still have a work plan meeting scheduled, but we will not have a regular meeting. Next is the um, Renters Commission work plan, and I'll let Hannah present this one. She worked really hard on this during the work sessions.
Yeah, we focused on topics that were maybe left over from last year or things that we've been talking about a lot this past year as high priority. And I wanted to clarify that the priority doesn't mean that like things are less or more important than one another, but it's more so what issues do we want to tackle first. So if something's high priority, we're going to try to get to it earlier in the year. Low priority, we'll get to towards the end of 2026. And I think a big theme this year was that we wanted to focus a lot on stakeholder engagement and educating tenants and maybe coming up with some better resources to share with people. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about it. Does anyone have any questions or comments on it?
Okay, great. Then I guess this time, since Hannah was presenting, I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 work plan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the 2026 work plan, which, by the way, was attached to the agenda for the meeting on the a2gov.org Legislators site, as well as in our emails. Please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please unmute and say nay. All right, great. Then our 2026 work plan has passed. And then the next item on the list is the bylaw change request approval. After we have a move to approve and a second, then we can discuss the bylaw changes. Is there someone who's going to move?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. The about a year ago, close to a year ago, we had discussed some bylaw changes. The main one, there are two main changes that are in the bylaws and that need to be changed. The first one is that it says on there a non-voting member from the HHSAB, and we no longer have an HHSAB with the city. It was the Health and Human Services Advisory Board, which was disband, which they decided to disband, and I forgot when council voted on it, but it has officially been disbanded. And so that just doesn't exist anymore. And they were a non-voting member, so it doesn't actually make a difference on whether or not we can vote on the agenda or anything else. And then the second one is what constitutes quorum. In the current bylaws, it's 6 members, which over time has been difficult to meet. And so in the new bylaws, it's 5, which is easier for us to meet for quorum. Does anyone have any questions? All right, then we'll move for, oh, sorry, Hannah.
I think this draft still has HHSAB on here. I think we just need to delete it.
Okay. Well, Kristen, if we vote on deleting that and accepting the 5, then will that just go into the new bylaws?
I will update it to make that change about the HHSAB section, and then that copy will be forwarded to a city council meeting where city council
Okay.
or they may approve both, they may just approve one. They may not approve, it'll depend on what they decide.
Okay, but just on our end, those 2 would just be updated, and then you would take, and city council would make a decision.
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the changes to those 2 changes to the bylaws, please unmute and say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please unmute and say no. Okay, great. Then the changes to the bylaws request have been approved, and next it'll go to Kristen will make the changes, and then it'll go to City Council for them to make a decision, and hopefully they'll agree. And then next, although he's not feeling well, we would like an update from Councilmember Radina on the rent transparency ordinance.
Yeah, happy to give one. Obviously, this is still going a little bit slower than we would have liked at this stage. But Gail and I met with attorneys Reiser and Richards a couple weeks ago now. Got another updated draft back from them, and then I sent a couple of final changes from my perspective over to them earlier this week. There were a couple of language issues that I worried might still provide an opportunity for a loophole to be created. So Attorney Richards is taking one more look at that and will hopefully have a draft back to me tomorrow. At which stage I plan on circulating it to my colleagues and introducing it at our first meeting in January. So we are almost there, but I think we are probably on the final draft that we'll get back from the attorneys, unless Gail, unless you have a different perspective, if you think there are more changes we might need to address.
No, I took an initial look and I just need to look at it again. I think if there's anything, they're pretty minor. So I think we're good to go, but I'll give it another look.
I will add that I know that there is at least one lobbyist representing one of the property management firms in town that has been kind of reaching out to council members and having conversations with them. And so it is my hope at some point that when this moves forward, that we will also hear from some tenants so that they're speaking out and sharing their view on why this is so important.
Do we know when this will end up maybe coming?
Yeah, so first meeting would be at our first meeting in January, so the first Monday, and then second reading would come at the second meeting, so third Monday, and the public hearing and everything would be at the second meeting.
When there when there is the final copy, is it possible to send it out to the Renters Commission? We will not be discussing it via email. But we would discuss it during the work plan session. As most of the commissioners know, I don't know if you know this, Sheila, but we do tend to make a resolution in favor of legislation by city council that affects renters that we believe in. And so if it looks good, which the previous version we were pretty much in favor of, except for a few things, which it sounds like is probably kind of hammered out. We would then during the work session discuss the discuss the resolution, and then at the meeting in January, we would vote on the resolution, which would then go to the city council members. So they would know where the Renters Commission stands on it. Hannah,
And
I saw you.
to answer your question, yes, I will circulate back with the commission as well.
Okay, thank you. I kind of rambled, but I wanted to make sure Sheila, who was new, understood. Does that sound good, Hannah?
Yeah, I'll put it on the agenda for the next work plan meeting. We'll finish that up, and then it looks like our regular meeting is just a few days before the second reading, so that'll go well in terms of timing.
Right. And just to reiterate what Councilmember Radina said, we are able to either call in or be there live at the city council member if you do want to speak on behalf of tenants about the ordinance. And if you need to know how to sign up to do that, then we can also send that out in an email with instructions as to how to sign up for public comment or for how it works to do it for the public hearing.
And just to note also, if you're planning on participating via the public hearing at the second meeting, you don't have to sign up for anything in advance. Anybody can show up to the
Right.
meeting and speak at the public hearing.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I always forget about that. Like public comment is like stuck in there, like it's imprinted in there. But yes, thank you. And next is the plan for our next meeting. Right now, what we have on the agenda really is to talk about the oh gosh, a resolution for the ordinance. And one thing that I had this we had received an email from or I had received an email from the AATU about the right to the Tenant Bill of Rights and the right to organize. And I would like to talk about that in our January or February meeting. And since she's here, Sheila, I was wondering if you could talk with AATU and find out which month would be better for them to give a presentation for that, if it would be January or February.
I will message them now and maybe we can get a response by the end of this meeting.
Okay, thanks. I think during the work session we had talked about February, but then I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
We did talk about February. We got an approval for February. So if we want to leave it at that,
Okay.
we can stick to February. But I can see if they'd be available in January instead.
Let's leave it at February, but in January, then what I'll do is I will send the draft if that's okay.
Yeah, we can if we send a draft of the ordinance, the proposed
Mhm.
ordinance, I can do that.
Right. Is there anything else that people feel like should be on our January meeting? Um, one thing, one other thing is that the comprehensive land use plan, the last and final draft is up. Was it public comment for that? The written comment closes, I believe, January 5th. And so you can, as an individual, go ahead and comment on your thoughts on the draft. I do think that it's something that, because we did have a presentation on the draft previously, I would like to discuss in January our level of support for the draft of the plan and as tenants.
At the work plan meeting next month, we could discuss it more people have more
Mhm.
questions or thoughts, and then we'll work on that as well as the resolution for the transparency fee ordinance.
Okay, great. Thank you. So both of those will go on the agenda for the January work plan meeting and for the January regular renters commission meeting. Um, is there anything else? I was wondering, and I think this is more for Councilmember Radina. I know that there were discussions about the CSG survey, and maybe if next month, if we could get an update on that.
Yes, thank you. I actually was just checking back to see if we got a response, whether or not those questions were included. So I will be happy to get an answer back and give us an update at our next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, let's see.
Essentially,
You weren't
sorry.
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
essentially
go ahead.
for background for everybody else,
Mhm.
we'd been hearing for a while that obviously from landlords who don't believe that the existing early leasing ordinance timeline is the right timeline, that it feels like it to them that it comes too late in the process. We have heard that from some students and parents as well, kind of anecdotally, whether or not that was, promoted by conversations that they had with their landlord. I don't know, because I think some of them are being told like, oh well, you absolutely can't do anything until then. Um, I think so. What we were ultimately trying to do is submit some questions. CSG has a survey going out to the student body on housing issues in general, and let me propose a few questions about the timeline so that we can hear directly from students whether or not they think the timeline is working, what their ideal timeline to shop for apartments would be, and all of those types of things, so that we can hear back directly from them. I have not, it doesn't look like I've heard back as to whether or not those questions ultimately got included. So I will follow up with them, and also try to find out when the survey is actually going out.
Sheila?
I think one thing I'd like to know after talking to some students is I think their initial understanding of the early leasing ordinance is um, without the context of how it used to be in Ann Arbor. And so I think maybe discussing with some students, especially freshmen, about what the competitiveness is of trying to rent and when they find out that they're able to move to the city. Maybe that will also give us a bit of a better idea because I think there's a big focus on constraints as opposed to, you know, prior to the ELO, most units were rented out by October the year before.
Yeah, I think that is valuable as well. I think this will be interesting if the survey goes out. Obviously, one data point, not the entire story, but helps us kind of have that determination because I think one of the things that ultimately we're looking at is we always recognize that when we implemented this a couple of years after it was implemented, we needed to take a look and see how it was working, because obviously the date was kind of in flux as we negotiated through. I know like some of the graduate student union members who were originally involved would have preferred kind of a later date out. Obviously, some of the property managers didn't want change at all. Some of them wanted earlier in the process. And then it was when the undergrad students through CSG got involved that we kind of landed on the current date. So this is hopefully just kind of one data point in that reflection. And then I have also, last week I got contacted by the new CSG president asking to reach out as well or asking to sit down as well. And so this might be an opportunity when I can connect with him to discuss other ways that we can continue to kind of get in front of students and have those conversations, those more meaningful conversations with them about this, and how they might be able to partner with us in terms of education around tenants' rights as a student.
Thank you. And we in our work plan session we were just talking about how we can connect with more students so that they know their rights and know kind of, I don't want to say what they're getting into, but know what to expect when they're starting the rental process. Um, and so any connections or headways that can be made, like as a commission, we'd really appreciate that too. Moving on in the agenda, um, is the report. The first is the report from City Council. Do you have anything else? I feel like we kind of jumped ahead a little bit to that.
I don't think I have anything else beyond what we've talked about. You mentioned the comprehensive plan, which was on my list here. It is January 5th is the deadline for public comment, and so for those of you who want to weigh in and haven't, you still have some time. But also, please share with your networks as well if they want to weigh in on the direction of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. And next is the report from the commissioners. Are there any announcements or reports from any of the commissioners? Jordan?
Hopefully I can get through it without coughing, but I wanted to give a shout out to the Washtenaw Housing Authority Landlord Advisory. I know I've mentioned the group before, but it's a group that's been really working to try to connect housing providers with agencies in the city that provide housing resources. And for the first time, we had a really awesome event on the 5th where we had all sorts of kind of community resources from housing to food to dispute resolution to legal services, all there with about 22 landlords in a room, introducing them to all of the resources that are available for their renters. And it was just a super awesome event. So I want to give a shout out to that. And, if you are more connected as a renter with your landlord, with your property manager, giving the Washtenaw Housing Authority's landlord advisory a shout out we're doing important work. The group has been existing for about 2-3 years now. And so just wanted to give that a little shout out that there's a lot of kind of trying to build community and help others see how we can help renters. And so just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move forward on the agenda. Kristen, do you have any announcements for us?
I do not.
Um, did you say you do or do not? I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. No announcements, no report. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and move forward. Next is the communications to the Renters Commission. Every throughout the month, we receive various emails to the Renters Commission email address, and so we briefly go over the what people's concerns were. The first one is someone whose heater was broken, and they hadn't had heat for a while, and they've had to couch hop for a bit. And the response was that the city's rental housing services department was copied, and that they can assist in determining if a code violation was taking place, and that if they were a U of M student, that they also have access to student legal services. And the link to student legal services was put in the email, and so was a link to the city's complaint form. This was as of December 1st. I don't know if there's because there isn't anything else attached. I'm assuming there wasn't any more back and forth between them and the Renters Commission. Later on, we will get updates as to what the complaints, more of what complaints were given to the city. Next is there was a voicemail that was
Can I
left
just ask
on
a
the mayor.
question, Rosanita, about the heat issues?
Mhm.
I'm just curious if anybody knows how the city is handling those complaints about heat, what actions they're taking, because I've heard different responses from students who have filed complaints about inadequate heat. Kristen, I don't know if you know, or Travis, if you know.
And
I don't
John
know
Reiser,
right now, but I can certainly reach out to rental housing services.
Okay, because I think it'd be helpful to know the best way that we can, help tenants get heat, especially, I mean, now it's warming up a little bit, but I'm sure we'll be getting some cold weather again. Thanks, Kristen.
For sure.
and can you let us know as well, Kristen?
Yes, I'm interested to know if they have like kind of information that they send everybody, and if so, I can share that with you guys and maybe the website. We'll see what they say.
Okay, thanks. Because I think, isn't that one of the few things that's required in state law, like that they have to provide heat? Not AC, but heat.
The city ordinance requires tenants to be able, or requires landlords to provide heat so that it's at least 68 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've just been hearing different responses from students in terms of what they're hearing from the city. So I just want to make sure I understand.
All right. Thank you. And sorry I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. Sorry to butt in there.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't see your hand. I was reading. Next is the transcription of a voicemail that was left for the mayor's office. And um, it was, it says every landlord and broker is listing their housing as available without knowing whether or not it's available, which then makes students spend hours and hours chasing properties, going on knocking doors and seeing if students intend to renew because the brokers are asking for us to put down a reservation on these, a refundable reservation without the benefit of getting access to see the unit. And it says we don't know if our reservation is going to be, they make you reserve with the lease, so that once you put in the reservation, you've got to sit there and wait until they tell you if it's available or not available. This was forwarded to us on December 8th. And I don't know if you know about this one, Gail.
I mean, based on the new pre-tenancy ordinance, they shouldn't be asked to pay more than $50 for an application fee. I guess I'm not sure how the mayor's office would like us to respond, if they want one of us to reach out to them, or if the mayor's office has already responded to this caller. I mean, I'd be happy to reach out to whomever I can reach out to.
I believe that the mayor's office forwarded it over to the Renters Commission inbox, kind of believing it was intended for the Renters Commission. I did call the person back, but they haven't returned my phone call. If I do hear back from them, I can talk to them about maybe like to have you as a resource if they have questions, or kind of what their student connection is.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is that this is a parent of a student. I'm just for the way it's written, maybe not. But I'd be happy to get involved too if you want me to talk to anybody.
My impression also of hearing the voicemail is that like a parent or other non-student renter.
Gotcha.
Do we know who the landlord is? Was that brought up at all?
No, the email doesn't say anything about the landlords. It sounds like it's for prospective renting. Um, and so they don't mention a particular landlord, just that landlords are doing this. So they may or may not be adhering to the new pre-tenancy fee ordinance, um, which is a part of the education component, right, for both landlords and students, as well as possibly some of the parents of students, because the other noticeable thing in there was knocking on tenants' doors, asking them if they were like an individual knocking, like as another student knocking on people's or renter knocking on people's doors, asking if they're going to be renting. And um, not only is that potentially unsafe, but and highly unrecommended, it's also um, not something that should be occurring. See, Jordan and then Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, we have had more of that this year. I think like people writing and saying like, I talked to this tenant, which is actually, in addition to being unsafe, and with everything going on in the world right now, something that we have always recommended against. But the other thing is that current tenants typically have no idea about whether it's actually available, whether it's not, those kind of things. So um, the other thing that I think is concerning is the like having things posted as available. And I don't know how we can, like, if there's any legislation or anything that could work to change that, because I do think that's true. And there are some properties that the way they just operate is having a sign saying lease now, call this number. I mean, that's how they get kind of their leads. Um, Whereas those aren't actually available, they can't actually sign a lease. And that's a little tricky because there's this idea of like, if people are doing these kind of wait lists or reservations, now obviously they can't charge the fee, but people are still doing them. So it it may be listed as available, though it's not available, and they haven't even sent out the renewal offer because they can't yet. So I mean, I think that is something that is, I don't know how we address that, but I empathize with that concern because I think that is really hard and confusing for renters, parents, anybody who's looking at the picture.
Hannah?
I just also wanted to say that I have talked to some freshman students who were apartment hunting. And they didn't even care that they're outside of the terms of the ELO. They're going door to door in a neighborhood they want to live in and just asking the current residents if they plan on renewing for next year. And if they say no, then they reach out to the landlord to try to get in on it. So there's still a sense of like scarcity and urgency, um, that I don't know how to address it, but I just wanted to throw out there that I've also talked to people who are doing this.
I feel like, sorry, I
Go
feel
ahead.
like it's going to take a couple cycles maybe before it becomes clear that tenants, students don't need to rent this early. I mean, this year in particular, um, there were a lot of landlords that had vacancies well into the summer. And, so students who rushed to lease were now paying more than what landlords were offering later in the summer. I don't know if that's going to be true. Jordan, I don't know if that was your experience in terms of what you're seeing, or if it's going to be true in subsequent years. But I think the more that keeps happening, maybe people will get the idea that they don't have to do this early.
Yeah. I agree. I heard from a couple of parents who had that same scenario and sent them your way that there was this idea that they found out that it was less later, and what recourse do they have. And so I think that is tricky, and it's tricky to know that you can actually sign legal leases for May leases at this point. So that is a very confusing and hard point, because then people start leasing, and then other people don't understand the difference between, like, on this situation you can sign an actual lease and then the unit is yours and there's no uncertainty, and in this situation there is risk and uncertainty with all sorts of varying levels depending on all the various factors. But I agree. I think that things were available later this year, and when we see the new dorms coming online and the new housing coming online, that our hope is that but we've been saying that for a long time. So I also want to be conscientious. And I get Hannah's point about like, this is from a scarcity mindset. This is a panic. And with each year, the difficulty, I think in finding the types of housing that people want too, right? Like we're seeing a lot of the single family houses go, and this is not a statement on whether or not there's value in that kind of thing, but there are a increasingly limited number of certain types of housing that certain groups of students want that kind. And so I think there is what I'm seeing and feeling on my end, having a lot of that is like a lot of competition for few units in that kind of world, because we're seeing less and less of that. So just kind of there's no value judgment in any of that, Stephen, just kind of more a factual observation. But I do think that idea of like, how do we get across that you don't have to lease yet, and also when your friends are leasing and signing agreements, then that spreads like wildfire, right? Like that we see the pressure all increase all at once, kind of like a big tidal wave, which is hard.
And not to put you on the spot, Michelle, but are you noticing any of this, or people that you know or overheard?
Yeah, I would just say I echo a lot of the things I've heard already. A lot of the students are like very anxious about finding housing early still, especially with houses, I've heard. A lot of students really want those, and that's when they go sort of door to door knocking. I've definitely heard that a lot of students are doing that. And so if there's a certain type of housing, I would say houses are definitely the one that students perceive to be rarer, and they will try and go earlier to try and get. But yeah, just echoing a lot of the things I've heard already.
Um, yeah, I unfortunately don't know what the answer is, because it's just people is it people want what they want, when they want it. And I think that the ordinance does is supposed to help, the early leasing ordinance and the pre-tenancy fee ordinance, because at least in that particular case, the hope is that a student who is trying to look around isn't paying, $500, $700 or more still when they're not supposed to. Um, and that is a concern of mine from what was in the voicemail. Jordan?
I think one other thing that came up as you were saying that too, it when we judge the effectiveness of the ordinance, I think we also have to look at what was happening. I mean, it used to be that a year and a half or 2 years in advance, we get hundreds of emails already. I mean, saying, I want this, I'm a freshman and I want this house my senior year. And that has successfully, I think, like been quashed in some ways. Like that has moved back. People start emailing more once the school year starts, but I don't get quite as many like people feeling very aggressive and aggressively searching, not aggressive toward me, but aggressively searching and like really high pressure demand emails that early on. I don't, that's just something that observationally. So I do think in some ways like that part has been effective, that I do think that it's still a rush, and it's still going to be the scarcity mindset until things shift. And it was effective in kind of shifting that time frame so that freshmen didn't get on campus in September and feel like they had to have a lease signed by October, because that's what used to happen. But it's hard when it feels very pressure filled now to say it was even worse and it was even earlier, because that's almost hard to picture. It's kind of what I hear from parents and students too.
Well, hopefully over time, as said and echoing, this as more is built and as time goes on with the ordinances, as people get used to it, as people are more educated on it, that it'll ease even more. Because the other thing is, like, they just shouldn't have to be that stressed, you know, especially considering when they're searching for housing, on top of everything else. The last communication to council, I'm not sorry, not to council, to the commission, had to do with someone who was wondering if it was if there was a way to have a reasonable accommodation because of their spouse's anxiety and PTSD, which fall under disability, that to end their lease early. And I think what they want is to end the lease early without having to pay a fee because of conditions in the apartment. Uh, Kristen did respond with copying the city's rental housing services department to see if there's a code violation and what the next steps could be. I personally don't know, but I see Gail's hand is raised.
I would suggest that they be referred to the Fair Housing Center. And because in some situations, this might be a reasonable accommodation under the Fair Housing Act, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. So I think if the Fair Housing Center can either connect them with an attorney who does that work, or they can give them some advice after a consultation. I assume I can send you, Kristen, if you need it, that contact information.
You have a specific contact, absolutely.
Okay, I'll send you.
Perfect.
Hey, thank you, Gail. That was the last of our communications. And so next on the agenda is the second general public comment.
All right, if any meeting attendees would like to address the Renters Commission for up to 3 minutes about any topic, go ahead and raise your hand now. If you are joining with the Zoom link, you can use the raise hand feature. If you've called in, you can press *9 and we will call on you to speak. All right, no indication from the attendee.
Okay, then the last item on the agenda is our adjournment. And so just want to say again, welcome to Sheila as our new commissioner. Michelle, welcome back. And I hope everyone has a really great holiday season, and I'll see you all in January.
You too.
The meeting is officially adjourned.
Thank you all.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.